The next step in our process is to create the sprayers that are going to be used on the sides of the tube to keep the evaporative material irrigated and wet. So what I've done is taken some acrylic tubing and I put it on on little squares of acrylic material and just super glued it together so that I could make sure the holes are drilled perpendicular to one surface so they all go in the same way. That way when they spray out, they'll hopefully all be spraying out in one direction and I won't have a bunch of sprays going different ways. So that's the theory here. I'm going to take it out to the drill press and start drilling holes and see if this works out. So that's it. We'll see how it works. Okay, so hopefully you can see how the holes are drilled into the surface here. I'll zoom in so you can see them better. So they're not exactly perfectly lined up, but I don't think that'll matter. They're basically, you know, in a 90-degree fashion or 180 degrees. They're all directed towards one spot. Now it's just a matter of plugging up one end and connecting the other end of the pump with a little reservoir with some water in it and see how this thing sprays. See if I've got enough holes or I need more holes. You got to remember I'm going to have at least 4 or 5 of these, so I want to make sure I don't have too many holes, but I have enough holes to keep everything nice and moist. Okay, so I plugged off the end. I used a piece of 1/8 inch rod stock that fits directly inside the end and just 1 drop of super glue, and that's made a nice tight here we go. It's made a nice tight end. The black is just from grinding it with a Dremel tool, but that's all sealed up, watertight. Now the other end, I'll just put a piece of hose over it and connect that hose to the pump, and we'll see how this thing sprays. So on the opposite end from the plugged end, I put a piece of 1/4 inch ID tubing, acrylic, it's hard, onto the 1/8 inch ID acrylic tubing. The 1/8 inch ID coincidentally is a 1/4 inch OD, so it fits right inside the 1/4 inch ID 3/8 OD pipe, and this OD is the same size as the flexible hose that I have for the pump. So now I'll just connect that flexible hose to this end, connect the other end of the pump, and put the pump in some water and see how it sprays. Okay, so here's the test rig to see how the water is going to spray out of this little perforated tube here. All we got to do is connect this this red cable here to this cable here, and we'll get some water. Wow, look at that. I think that's going to work quite nicely. We got a good spray coming out, obviously. We're emptying out this little container very quickly, but of course in our system the water out of the out of the tubes here is going to drain back into the tank and be recirculated over and over again. So I'd call that a success. That spray works pretty good, bearing in mind I'm going to have to build about 4 to 6 of these in order to position them in the cooling material so that they'll keep it wet. So I'm going to continue that and finish those up. Stay tuned for the next part.